Good morning, students. Today in this video, I'm going to explain the poem The Ball by John Berryman. We will discuss each stanza in detail, line by line, and also learn the meanings of difficult words. Afterwards, we will discuss about the poetic devices used in the poem. So let's begin with the introduction of the poem. The poet Berryman in the Ball poem describes the grief of a boy over the loss of his ball. With that loss, he senses his first responsibility in a materialistic world where those whom you love and your worldly possessions. Whom do you love? You love your parents, you love your friends, you love your sister, brothers, okay? And you also love your worldly possessions like your belongings, like your cars, scooter, your things at home, okay? You love them and all these will not be with you forever. The poem shows how all through your life you will be forced to do things that you don't want to do, and you will lose or have to give up the things that you love. But despite this, you have to learn to stand up, to be strong, and get on with your life, no matter how much it hurts inside, because that is the only way you will survive. It thus teaches us to learn to accept and let go and not cling or attach onto something that you can never have. Okay, so about the poet, John Berryman was an American poet and scholar. He is best known for the Dream Songs in 1969, which was a sequence of 385 poems. He won Pulitzer Award for the Dream Songs, which he wrote in 1969. He also won National Book Award. So, the poet John Berryman described through the poem the reality of life, which has to be faced by everyone in the world. The poet tells in the poem how to stand up during the hard time of life. So, before I explain the poem, let me summarize the poem for you. So, the poet is talking about a little boy who has lost his ball. He was playing with his ball. The ball skipped from his hands, fell into the nearby water pool or the harbor. The poet says that this made the poet John Berryman think about the boy and his reaction to the situation. He further says that boy helplessly looked into the water where his ball fell down. The boy became very sad and was trembling with fear. He got so immersed, means so absorbed in his sorrow, in his pain. He kept standing near the harbor for a longer time and kept on looking for his ball. The poet says that he could console him, that he may get a new ball, or he could also give him money to buy another ball. But the poet didn't do so because he thinks that the money can buy a new ball but cannot bring the memories and feelings attached to the lost ball. He further says that the time has come for the boy to learn his responsibilities. The poet says that now the boy will learn the toughest lessons of his life. Okay, the boy and everyone has to accept the truth of his or her life, that one day we all will have to lose our loved and dear ones. So let's begin the poem. Stanza 1. What is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go merrily bouncing down the street and then merrily over. There it is in the water. Students, before I start explanation, I would like to tell you that the whole poem is written in one stanza. But in order to make you understand properly, I have divided the poem into three stanza. Okay. So now let's begin this explanation. Here in the first stanza, the poet is talking about a boy who has lost his ball while playing. The poet wants to know about him and his reaction because he has lost his ball further. The poet asks to himself that what this boy will do after having the ball lost. The poet has seen the ball bouncing away from the boy. The ball was cheerfully jumping up and down in the street and finally fell into the nearby water body. Okay, now see the difficult words meaning. Merrily means cheerfully, happily means happily, bouncing means jumping up and down. Okay, now the second stanza of the poem. No use to say, oh, there are other balls. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. I would not intrude on him. A dime another ball is worthless. Now he senses first responsibility. Let's go through the words meaning. Shaking grief means sorrow, sadness, which greatly affects the boy. Rigid means hard, stiff, tough. Trembling means shivering, shaking. Harbor means dockyard, port, shelter, or place. Intrude means invader. Dime, 10 cents. US, the newspaper, like in sentence, I have used it for you. The newspaper costs 10 dimes. Worthless means valueless, useless. The explanation of the poem, stanza second. No use to say, oh, there are other balls. Okay. So here in stanza second, the poet says that there is no use of consoling the boy, saying that the poet will get new ball because he has other balls too. The boy is feeling very sad and he is overpowered by sorrow because all the memories of his childhood days are attached to the ball, which also have gone with the ball into the river. The child is very sad as the ball, which has now gone down the harbor, reminds him of sweet memories of his childhood when he owned the ball. And the loss of the ball is unbearable for him. And now his grief, the boy is grief stricken. He is very sad. The poet says that he dare not to ask the boy to take money and bring another ball because the new ball can't buy and bring the sense of belongingness to the boy. He cannot have those such feeling with new balls as he had with older one. But the poet says that the time has come, or this is the time for the boy to learn the responsibilities of taking care of the things which are dear to dear. Dear means which he love most. Okay, so this is the time for the boy to learn things which are dear to him. Okay, now the stanza third. In a world of possessions, people will take balls will be lost always, little boy, and no one buys a ball back. Money is external. He is learning well behind his desperate eyes the epistemology of loss, how to stand up, knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. Okay. Now let's go through the words meaning. Possessions means ownership. External, here in the poem, things to which feelings are not attached. Okay. And desperate means hopeless. Epistemology means knowledge or understanding the nature of loss. So, in stanza third, in a world of possessions, people will take balls. Balls will be lost always. So here the poet says that the boy has to learn that in this physical or materialistic world, many of his belongings will be lost or will be taken by the people whom he would never regain. Okay, he cannot regain the lost things. The poet personified the ball as his belongings here, be it the worldly things or the relationships, be it a worldly thing, be it a relationship. The boy possesses these things and relations. So the boy has to learn to live without them one day. Neither money nor anyone can buy the lost things or people for anyone, because money can't buy us everything. It can buy some materialistic things to us, but still it cannot buy the sense of belongingness. Okay. The poet says in this stanza that now the boy is learning how to stand up against the hard time of life when he loses the things which are the dearest to him. And this is the time when the boy learns the truth of the life, and he has also to accept the bitter circumstances in his life. And everyone in the world has to learn this truth in his or her life. The harsh truth of life, standing up against the odd situation in life that everyone has to bear. Now, let's discuss the poetic devices that has been used in the poem. Uh, and first is alliteration. Understand? And before this, we must know about the rhyme scheme. Before going to start poetic devices, we must know about the rhyme scheme of the poem. So if we say that there is not any particular rhyme scheme in the poem, okay, lines are not matching or rhyming with each other. So to conclude, there is not any rhyme scheme in the poem. Because it is consisting of only one stanza, there is no rhyme scheme in the poem. But the poet instead conveys his meaning through the rhythm, the tone, and his use of words. Okay. So, first first poetic device used by the poet is alliteration. So, what is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound at start of two or more consecutive words. Okay, see the first line of first stanza. I have highlighted words in different colors for you. See the first line of first stanza. Who, WH, her sound. Has, in has, her sound. H, lost his, in his, her sound. Okay, so her sound is repeated here, and this is the example of alliteration. Now, see the third line of third stanza. Here words buys ball back. I have not highlighted buys, but it's so. Buys, buys, ball back. Okay, begin with b sound. So b sound is repeated. and this is also alliteration. Another example, see, downwards, man must, in line 8 of the second stanza. M sound has been repeated here. So this is also the example of alliteration. Now the second poetic device used in the poem is anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of word or words at the beginning of successive phrases, clauses, or lines to create a sonic effect. So, lines first and second of the very first stanza. Look at these lines. First and second of the very first stanza begins with word what. See, first line, very first word of first line, and then second line, what and what. This is the instance of anaphora. Again, line third and fourth of the same stanza, see, begin with merrily. You can see in black, bold letters, is the another instance of anaphora. Okay. Then another poetic device used in the poem is repetition. When poet repeats the same word or sentence to put emphasis on. Okay. So in stanza first, what. Again, in stanza first, what. See the second line. Is he to do? See the line, what is he to do? What word is repeated because the poet puts emphasis that what the boy would do now after losing his ball. Okay. Second line of stanza third. Now the third stanza, and see the second line. The word balls. You can see balls. That is bold. That is in bold letters. Balls is repeated to put emphasis. Okay. And second line of stanza third. See the line, stanza third. Balls will be lost. Okay. Always. They are in bold letters. You can notice them. The word balls is repeated to say to the child that either people would take it away from him or it will be lost. What will be lost? Ball. Ball is symbolism here, okay? Because the poet is relating that thing can be lost or you may be get separated from your belongings whom you would love. Okay. Now, there is personification in the poem. Used in the poem, the poet describes ball merrily bouncing down the street. See in the first stanza. The ball merrily bouncing down the street. So this is the very good example of personification. Merry means happy, and it's a human characteristic which is attributed to the ball. You can see the definition of personification. So ball is personified here by the poet. He is treating the ball as human being and attributing him human like qualities, human characteristics. Okay. So human characteristic has been attributed to the ball. So it's a good example of personification. So another poetic device used by the poet in the poem is metaphor. So metaphor is a literary device in which a word or phrase is symbolically applied to a thing to which it is not literally applicable. In the poem, the poet says, balls will be lost always. Okay, you might have noticed balls will be lost always here. So, this is the very good example of metaphor. The balls here symbolical possessions which we lose. It also refers to the childhood which, if lost, never comes back. Okay, childhood stage never comes back in our life. Another poetic device used in the poem is apostrophe. So, what do you mean by apostrophe? It's a literary device in which a person is addressed who is either dead or physically not present when we are talking about it. In the poem, the poet says, balls will be lost always. Little boy, whom he is addressing to little boy, where the boy physically not present. You know that the boy is not present in the poem. He is not present with the poet. Okay, he is addressing the boy only. He is only talking about the boy in the poem. They are not communicating face to face in the poem. So, the poem is the good example of apostrophe. Another poetic device used in the poem is enjambment, and it is the continuation of sentence without a pause or any punctuation marks. So, this is also the definition of enjambment. Okay, I'm repeating for you. It's the continuation of sentence without a pause or any punctuation marks beyond the end of the line, couplet, or a stanza. Example, second line of first stanza. See, second line of first stanza. You can notice here. This is the good example of enjambment. I saw it go merrily down the street. You can notice that there is not any punctuation mark. Without any punctuation mark, it is ended in one sentence. Okay. I saw it go merrily bouncing down the street. Up to this. So this is the good example of enjambment. Now, the last but not the least is symbolism. Symbolism is another poetic device used by the poet here in the poem. Okay, so use of symbols to represent. Why do we use symbolism? Is the use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities. Like in the poem, ball and balls represent childhood possessions and even the father of the poet. You just see the definition of symbolism. Okay. Symbolism is the use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities. And in the poem, what are the examples of symbolism? Ball and balls. Okay. Then he referred childhood, that is also the good example of symbolism. Possessions, that is again ball and many other things like relations and different things, or belongings, and even the father of the poet. As he lost, and when he lost his father, he just absorbed in sorrow. So that's all about the poem, a ball poem. Thank you so much.